Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome to episode 88 of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. This week, we're talking about the second part of our Cape Cod striper fishing adventure, which took place over Columbus Day weekend. Hopefully you caught part one, which was back on episode 82, where we went out on our own fishing the Cape Cod Canal in the middle of a nor'easter storm. Well, on this episode, we take you behind the scenes of our striper and surfcasting clinic that was put on that evening by our friends Mandy and Jeff at Al's Goldfish Lure Company, my co-host Barb Carey, as well as our guides Todd and Eddie. You also get a taste of the adventure that ensued on our first official day of going out surf casting for striper. We're going to review the exact setups we were using. You'll learn about the different species of fish that we could potentially catch in Cape Cod and the locations we fished and much more. If you haven't yet, definitely check out an article our guide Todd Carrere, the fish wrap writer, did about the event called Neither Wind Nor Rain Nor Anything Else. It's on his website, fishwrapwriter.com. We'll also include a link to that in the show notes for this episode at thewomanangler.com/88. And speaking of Al's Goldfish, Jeff is going to be at the St. Paul Ice Show Friday, December 6th through Sunday, December 8th. If you're going, be sure and stop by their booth, which is downstairs by Joe's and Cabela's. Check out their brand new ice jigs while you're there, and there's going to be a little more about that to come, so stay tuned. Also, at the end of this episode, we're making an announcement we think you're going to enjoy, so stay tuned for that as well. And just a heads up, this is another video episode, so if you'd like to see that, check it out on our YouTube channel, or you can watch it at our website, thewomanangler.com/88. All right, let's do this thing.
So we're just going to get this started. I want to tell you how this whole thing came about. So last year, Ricky and I were at the ice show in St. Paul, working the show for Clam Outdoors, the ice fishing company. And as we toured around the things like we do to talk to people and do videos, we came out across Al's Goldfish and met Mandy and Jeff. That Jeff, the guy in the blue shirt with the beard, but the one sitting down. So and we just kind of hit it off and started talking. And next thing you know, we did a video that put Mandy on the spot right away. But, she was like...
Barb doesn't ever put anybody on the spot.
Right? There's no shortage of, let's do a video. But we were talking, the East Coast. Oh, my daughter lives out there. Oh, do you striper fish? Oh, big Al's. These lures are great for that. One thing led to another. Next thing you know, we're co-sponsoring a striper fishing event in Cape Cod. And here you are today. Thank you all for coming. But that's how it all started. And I'm just going to have Angie come up. The Woman Angler and Adventure podcast is a co-host of this event and other sponsors besides Al's Goldfish Lures. And I'm going to thank you, Angie, for making the trek out here. And I'm going to pass it over to you, and then you can pass it over to Mandy.
Okay. Thanks, Barb. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Toyota because they gave us an awesome Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. TRD stands for Toyota Racing Division, and it's just a really great truck to haul our gear around in for this weekend, and it's just been really awesome. So huge shout out to Toyota for that, and now I'm going to pass it off over to Mandy.
So I can't tell you how excited I am that all of you are here. This has been something that I've been looking forward to, and even Jeff has as well, for, since it started, what Barb talked about last year in St. Paul. But our little band of what we call our hashtag believers, or Al's Heroes, they're all men. So every time we go fishing, I'm with like 8 or 9 other dudes. So to be out with you guys and not be the minority, it's really awesome. And so I'm just really excited this weekend. And so I ever since we have owned owls, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a few slides, we're closing in on 2 years of ownership, and about the time that we bought owls.
So then we went around the room and everybody introduced themselves and told what brought them out to this striper fishing clinic.
Wow, get pressure on.
And I came because I love to fish. They all think I'm nuts because like today they all wanted to go home and I said, could we just fish for an hour?
1 more hour.
And then Vicky says, yeah, let's fish for an hour. So I got to fish for another hour. And I did have a bite, which was kind of exciting.
We heard that.
Yeah. And I could fish 24 hours a day. I just love it. So.
My name is Barb. And I want to learn about striper fishing because my daughter lives out here and she doesn't fish, but when I come here I thought maybe if I knew something it would kind of cut the learning curve a little bit, because the first time I was out here and I was fishing I just saw this old pier head coming out, so I brought all my stuff because I drove out. I was fishing off of there with some live bait, some crabs, and then like the DNR came and thought that who the hell would be fishing here this time of year? They got to be poaching lobsters for Thanksgiving. So, and then not only that, but then he thought, lady, you're crazy because this area we find bodies. What are you doing here? So those are like 2 big red flags. Maybe I better learn a little bit more before I just pull up to any place and go and try to go fishing. So I thought, now this is perfect. I know all these people that know everything about it, and we can get dialed in on the bite. So when I come back here, now I can drag Gretchen out again because now we know what we're doing. We know where to go, Gretchen. Woohoo! We'll be back.
I don't know if you meant that.
Yeah, but Sue will come with me, so then Gretchen will come.
I'm really good at sitting and waiting with a cocktail and a book until there's a Facebook Live opportunity for her to reel something in.
That's an important role. Yes, it is.
We all speak our own language.
I really want to get into striper fishing on my lake, and I was going to come regardless, but I feel like the skills that I might learn out here about these fish and even the podcast that we got to do with Todd, I feel like I've already learned so much, and so I'm going to take everything that I'm learning this weekend and just about the species in general and take it back home and apply it to my lake. And the lures, the Alice Goldfish, I feel like we're just gonna knock it out of the park. So that's my hope. Yeah.
I don't
Ricky,
remember.
Gina, Gretchen, Sue, Sandy, Pat, Vicky, Valerie, Christine. Wow!
I couldn't do that.
No.
Everybody.
Your turn.
Yeah.
Todd Correa. He's from Rhode Island. And whenever we hear other Rhode Islanders say his name, it's Todd Correa. Correa. That's how the Rhode Islanders say it. And if you listen to
Then Mandy introduced Todd Correa, which you should have already met Todd on episode 77 of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. It was called Get Schooled, Cape Cod Striper Fishing at its Finest. So in the interest of time for this episode, we're going to skip past that and on to the next thing.
lunch break Eddie Stachowiak. And so he says it because it's Polish, and you say Stachowiak. Stachowiak.
I work for Underwater Magazine. I've been there 5 years. I've used Alice Goldfish for probably 35 years when they first came out. I don't even know when.
60
years. But I mean, I remember opening up my grandfather's tackle box and Alice Goldfish came out. And then I met the previous owners to them and I said, you guys gotta come on a saltwater series because it matches the peanut bunker out here. It's exactly what they're hitting. And he said, let me send you something. So he sent me a prototype, 1 1/4 ounce, gold and silver, Alice Goldfish, and still have it up at my desk. And I said, that's it. And then these guys continued the whole venture towards that, and I'm hoping it takes off. I use them all the time. I'm catching a lot of fish. I'm hoping to show it off a little bit more tomorrow and on Sunday, and then on Monday with you guys. I fish every day. I try to fish every day. And for me, it's not about catching. It's all about the adventure. I love the adventure of just figuring things out. Time of day, lunar phases, tides. Doesn't matter. Just an hour at my lunch, or I'll go before work, I'll go after work, whatever it is. I just try to get out there every day. So, lunch break, Eddie. I've never felt so much pressure, and I feel for guides out there, because guides have to put people on fish constantly. That's their job. But I think a lot of you said the same thing. It's about the adventure. It took a little bit of the pressure off. I mean, you see the weather out there. You know, you're not paying us to get out to fish. You're paying us to have an adventure and to learn something. And Todd and I, Jeff and Mandy, I don't know, you guys all have a sense of fishing. You know what it's about. So we'll do our best to open your, knowledge about what it takes to strike a fish in the surf, and where we are in Cape Cod, the mecca of surf fishing for striper bass. You can fish by a boat, you can fish by shore, striped bass here. I love Cape Cod. I've been here 2 years now with my wife and I and my dog, Mac, and maybe you'll meet this weekend. It's super cool. And the freshwater fishing, but the saltwater fishing, multi-species, all year long. As long as there's open water, you can catch a fish out here in Cape Cod.
I'm Jeff. She does 2/3 of the work. I do 1/3. I travel a little bit, so I'll be at the shows. I'll see y'all at the Minnesota show again, St. Paul, and for ice we'll be at Wisconsin, and then we'll be back in Minneapolis in April. But anyway, so I'm sure I'll see you guys at some of those shows. But Al's has been an adventure for us. We left our corporate jobs, change of life, sold our house, sold a car, just us and our truck and our dogs and cat, and moved up to Maine and bought Al's, and it's been a blessing. We've met some really amazing people. So what I'm really looking forward to out of this is I want you to catch fish. I don't care if I touch a rod all weekend, but I want y'all to catch fish this weekend. I want to make friends and support you, because I love what you guys do with your group and getting women into the industry. Mandy is officially on paper the president of the company. Like I said, she literally does 2/3 of the work, but she's the president, and I'm really proud of her. I don't know of any other fishing tackle company that is owned and managed by a woman, so that's really important to us. We want everybody to know that. But anyway. I didn't practice for this, by the way. I'm making this up as I go. But anyway, so I'm talking from the heart. But anyway, I'm really excited for y'all to be here. So we'll get to know you, and we'll have a great time. So.
Next, Mandy showed us a map of some of the different areas we might be fishing in throughout our weekend. She also gave a safety debriefing. But one thing I definitely wanted to share with you was the setups that we were using. They were pretty simple, and Todd's going to walk you through what we were using and why.
Okay, we're going to give you 10-foot surf rods. There's a couple of advantages, mostly for distance. These are awesome rods because they're not very heavy. Did you fish with these today?
No, I wasn't.
Yes.
Okay. Who fished today? All right, so you know it doesn't weigh very much. And,
Yep.
so push the rod tip down on the floor and bend it. Okay. Good. That's what you want. When you're casting, you want that bend. That rod's going to flex. When you put a little bit of weight, like the ounce and a quarter Al's in that, you want that rod to bend. You want to be able to reach back, obviously two-handed, and this rod will flex with that lure. And that ounce and a quarter lure is going to cast as a country mile, which is one of the reasons the saltwater line is so successful, because of that weight. Basically, surf rods are 9, 10, 11, sometimes 12, but you get into an 11 or 12 foot rod, and you're going to wear yourself out. You'll need shoulder surgery by the end of the weekend. It's too much weight. The technology has come so far with the production. I brought an older rod with me. You can see that's a fantastic rod. That's a brilliant rod. I've caught 1 million fish on it. It probably weighs 3 times what this rod weighs. But that's what the technology was years ago. And it's a great rod. But technology has come a long way. Back in the day, when I still had red hair, before I met people that house Goldfish. Anyway, We're going to put you on 30-pound braid. Braid is I'm sure you're familiar. Do you fish braid out for, like...
Yeah.
What's the big fish you're fishing with? Muskie or trout?
King salmon.
King salmon.
Oh, wow.
Where you are... Okay, so you fish braid?
Yep.
So you know it doesn't stretch, which gives you that really good feeling. Same thing with that tip on these. Even if you get into a striper, even a schoolie, like a 3, 4, 5 pounder, that braid is not going to stretch. You're going to feel that action right away, which will give you a second to kind of take a breath. Stripers don't have any teeth. They just have sharp little barbs kind of thing in there. So they inhale bait. They don't, like a salmon, bigger fish, sharks will take a bite and kind of let the fish die and then go back for the scraps. Bass inhale the fish. So you've got to let it, take it for a second, take a breath, let them get it in there, and then set the hook. And that's where that flex of these rods, and that's where that braid will come through. And we go with 20-pound?
We have 30-pound braid and 20-pound
20-pound fluorocarbon leader. The fluorocarbon is almost invisible underwater, and it's going to give you the ability, the fluoro will stretch just a little bit, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room when that bass hits. And I think when you fish these, especially these 4500s, these are brilliant. You'll be able to tell right away when you're on those fish, and you'll see this is the perfect setup. And if you, anybody ever fish the Salmon River in New York? There you go. Sometimes it's mostly a fly fishing river, but some people will tell you to bring a 10-foot rod because you can get across parts of the river, which seems kind of weird when you stand next to people with Orvis setups and big fancy fly rods. But this is this size is pretty handy. A little smaller reel, but this is a pretty handy setup for fishing a big place with big fish like the Salmon River. So these are excellent setups. This is medium heavy fast action. The fast action is the tip.
Right.
So you get. It kind of depends. If you're fishing and you want to put a fish in the boat and you don't want any mistakes and you want to catch the damn fish, sometimes people use a heavy rod with almost no action and it's like, jerk the fish in the boat. I just want fish in the boat. If you're more into the fight, you want to take a little more of a risk, you want a little more adventure in your casting, that fast tip, that medium heavy, you may not react quickly enough and lose the fish, which is not always what you want, but it's part of the whole game of fishing and the challenge of finding fish. So I rarely use, you're going to use stand-up tuna gear. Basically it's like a broomstick. There's almost no flex, but you're catching something that weighs 800 pounds. It's a different game. For a 10-pound striper, you want some of that flex. You want to feel that fight. You want to be able to have a little give and take. And I think we talked about in the podcast, stripers will pull you into the water if they can. They'll go right to the bottom. They'll bury their noses in the water, into the rocks. They'll try to push that hook out, but they don't have a lot of stamina. So if you have a rod that has some flex, you can have a little give and take, and you can take your time and be patient. You'll wear the bass out.
All right, so how to surf cast. So what we're going to do is
Mandy played a really cool surf casting instructional video for us, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes for this episode so you can check it out as well.
Line your finger up with your bottom line. We've come out with some new products just in the past 2 weeks, and so we've got a new products flyer in there, and this is stuff that's like...
Everyone who attended the event got a really cool goodie bag, which was a nice Al's dry bag. It included their current catalog, new product info, which for you ice anglers out there, there's some cool new Al's ice jigs out that you can find at Bass Pro and Cabela's, so check those out. It also included Eddie's Daiwa SP Minnows, which is pretty awesome, and sample Al's hook protectors, Saltwater Series L's Goldfish, which was the special edition fish wrap rider, a woman angler and adventurer pin, on the water outfitters brochure and sticker, as well as some clippers. And then there were a few weird fun items Mandy included. Also, everybody in attendance got reusable water bottles, since we're joining the Kick Plastic campaign, banning single-use plastics out on the water. Mandy shared a really cool FG knot that our friends over at Salt Strong showed us how to do via video. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. If you're not familiar with the FG knot, I highly, highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're going from braid to mono and you're going to have a long leader. It is a very narrow knot, so it passes through the eyes very easily, and the harder it gets pulled on, the tighter that knot gets. So it's a super, super strong way to connect braid to a different type of leader material. Then Todd went really in depth about striped bass. which, again, if you go back and listen to our episode 77, he went over a lot of those same things. But also, they talked about a lot of the other species of fish that we might catch while out surf casting, and I thought that was really interesting.
So bluefish, could we be catching bluefish tomorrow?
Bluefish is still here.
Bluefish are bluefish are. Are you familiar with bluefish at all? Bluefish are oily. They can't stop their tails. Their tails go 24 hours a day, so their bodies are full of capillaries to feed their tail. And they will feed in schools during the day and solo at night. And they also don't know when they're full. Bluefish will eat. They're kind of like teenagers. They'll eat till they puke, and then they'll eat more. They don't have a little sensor in their brain that says, I'm full, I think I'll just rest. If they see a nice big squid go by, they'll eat the squid and then puke it back up. It's like a natural reaction. So if we come across some bluefish, the chances are really good they're going to go after the owls, because it's that sensory. That lateral line goes off, they see the shine, they see the green, they see the dots, they're on it. They're also really, really good to eat fresh. They're not good 2 or 3 days later.
But they have teeth. You don't want to liver.
Good point. They are.
Piranhas.
They're vicious fish.
So if you pull something in that doesn't have 7 stripes, think twice.
Yeah,
they'll take your finger right off.
They will eagerly eat. They'll
a
have
bluefish.
All right, so we have fluke. So y'all are familiar with flounder. Well, we have fluke. That's a flat fish off the bottom, and we will jig goldfish off the bottom, even without bait. You can throw cut bait like a cut squid on it and stuff. We just do it bare hook and catch a ton of them. Somebody who's not here tonight is Mike Weck. He's another hashtag believer, and he is another Rhode Islander. And that guy, he can catch anything with a goldfish. If it's out there, he's going to catch it with a goldfish. And that is actually his photo there. So all those blackfish you see, the tautags, he caught those with goldfish.
And just a fun fact, I don't get to use this word very often. The fluke are called pleuronectidae.
Thank you for humoring him.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll be here all night. Don't forget to try the meatloaf.
Is that the winter flounder?
Is there any restriction on the tautags?
I think it's a summer. I'm sorry, what?
Is there any restriction on the tautags?
Yeah, there's a restriction on everything. There's a day limit and a bag limit. Tautog and Rhode Island have a boat limit. You're allowed 5, I think, a day, but the boat can't have more than 10. So
not on those big 70-person boats.
No, they actually exempt most. So if it's a 5 fish in Massachusetts, you'll be allowed. Everybody will be allowed 5 fish. So the pleuronectidae just means they have migratory eyes. So the fish are born with eyes on one side, and as they grow older, I always get it wrong, but summer flounder and winter flounder go the other way. But their eyes move as they grow. Their eyes move. The word is pleuronectidae.
Stop. We got it.
What was that, Todd?
Oh, stop. It's pleuronectidae. How often do you get to use the word pleuronectidae?
All right, and then that other thing there, they are amazing, cool fish, that sea robin. And they're not little, those big-ass fins there, they feel like leather in your hands, like super soft. They have a hard head. If you could grab it, it's kind of like sharky feel, where it's like sandy and it's hard. And in fact, we used their skeletons, their carcasses, in our lobster traps. And when we put bait in the lobster traps, when we go pull traps, it's gone. The lobsters and the crabs have totally eaten it. We have sea robin skulls.
And they're spiny right here, but right in front of the fins. They got spines that face backwards. So if you do catch one of those, watch out for the spines. You will get infected.
It's happened. We know.
I can tell you that.
Yeah. So
as kids, we never kept those. We always threw those back. They were trash fish, as we call them. And now, with some fisheries being depleted, people are looking for new sources of food. Everybody's eating sea robins now. It's a small piece. It's not a whole lot of fish in each one, or fillet out each one. But they're really good. So again, if you decide if you're going to bring some fish home with you, they're really good.
And they actually bark at you.
Oh yeah, they make an interesting noise, like wah wah wah, like a froggy,
like a catfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is like major scores for us as an owls, from an owl's perspective. The albie and the bonito, those two on either side. That's
albie,
Mike Weck.
Bonito.
It kind of pisses Eddie off that Mike Weck caught those on owls.
No, he was the first to do it.
He was the first to do it.
Damn him.
So talk about them.
Okay, so the one on the left is a bonita. Some people in New York and some other places call it New Jersey. Call it bonita.
Right.
Oh, left.
Oh, bonita.
Albie,
bonita. Sorry.
Bonita with an A. Albie and bonita.
They're in the mackerel family. The albie, they call it albie because it's a false albacore. It's in the mackerel family. The one on the right is bonito, and if we catch them tomorrow, which would be awesome, The easiest way to tell the difference is the bonito has long stripes, the bonita has a series of stripes, and then this really, really cool iridescent pattern on top of it.
They're beautiful.
And the bonito has teeth, bonita does not.
And you want to eat the fish with the teeth. Because
Right.
they taste like tuna.
And I've eaten both, and I'm all set, actually.
Really? Do you like the bonito? Really?
All set. But they are, lots of people, that was a big Caribbean fish back in the day when they were all over. They used to salt them and send them down the Caribbean. That was a really popular fish because it could hold for a summer, for months in some nasty wooden whiskey barrel. But anyway.
And when I was sail fishing in Mexico, we caught bonito and they made ceviche on the boat and it was delicious.
I'll bet that was
really good. So we got, what do we got? Scup and black sea bass.
Scup, porgies, people in New York call them porgies. Scup are little tiny fish. If you gave a kid a crayon and said draw a fish, they would look like a scup. They're just a perfect little fish. They are, if you catch them, the best thing to do is cut the gills out of them, cut the fins off them, and cut the stomachs out.
There is a limit though in Massachusetts, I think 10 inches.
I don't know what it is in Mass.
Might be.
We'll find out.
You take them back and you take some water and some kosher salt and some flour and you make a gooey paste. And don't even scale it, don't do anything, just cut the gills out of it in the stomach. Stuff a couple herbs in the middle of it, cover that whole fish in this dough mixture, 20 minutes in the oven, and it becomes like bread, and you peel the bread right off, and it takes the flesh, it takes the scales and the skin right off the fish, and you're left with a perfectly steamed fish. Remember, we're all old enough to remember Bugs Bunny. the cat, sometimes they have a fish, and they go like this, and they eat just the perfect fish, and the bones that come out. That's what they look like, and it's awesome. It's so easy. It's flour, water, and kosher salt.
So it's 9 inches, 30 fish a day.
Yeah, and they're really good. They're
30.
bony. They're tough to fillet because
30.
they're bony, but if you do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's black sea bass, which are more prolific here. That was a southern fish for a long time. The extreme northern range was Maine, but they hardly ever went there. In the last 3 or 4 years, they've moved up there, whether or not you believe in global warming or
Climate change.
whatever you believe in. The waters are warmer. Those fish are showing up. And in most places, fishermen are complaining there's too many. They can't get below the black sea bass to get to the bluefish or the stripers or whatever they're looking for. They can't get past them.
And sea bass season is closed, but I had a banner year this year.
It's closed?
In Massachusetts, sea bass is closed. Rhode Island's not. But I had a banner year catching sea bass with Alice Goldfish and jigging the spoons.
How many did you catch?
I went out one Saturday morning. I had a limit within 20 minutes, and then I was throwing back keepers left and right.
What's the limit here?
5 at 15.
And they are tasty.
They're delicious. Same thing. They're very aggressive. Shrimp, crabs, same. Not quite as aggressive. Their teeth.
So we met the next morning bright and early at 7:30 at the Manahawk Beach in East Falmouth. And not too long after we were there, Todd caught a really nice striper.
Nice. Woo! Oh, was that a surface clock?
And then Vicky got into some blue crabs, which was really fun. After we stayed there for a while, we hit the road a short distance over to address off Oyster Pond Road. There's a really long bike path, and we walked down it quite a ways because we saw some birds feeding. And Sue hooked into the first striper of the trip, caught by one of the group members, and that was really exciting. Woo!
Is that your first cast? That's my first cast! That's freaking awesome. Oh my God!
All right, grab it right. Put your thumb right in there.
And then, not too long after that, I got one. And then I think Sue got another one or two, and I caught another one. So it was a super fun time there near the Oyster Pond Road location.
Both of you.
In between locations, we made a quick stop off at On the Water Outfitters where Eddie works. and that was really, really cool. They have an awesome selection of merch, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, all sorts of things, and pretty much everything there was striper themed. I was really tempted to buy a bunch of stuff, but they've got a great online store too, so you should go check that out. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. And then later that evening, we all got together for a really great dinner, great food, and even better company. It was so much fun. Al sponsored the dinner, and we just had a great time. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. If you're interested in trying out surfcasting for stripers, we really encourage you to plan a trip. Contact Eddie from On the Water or Todd the Fish Wrap Writer if you've got any questions. I'm sure both those guys would be more than happy to answer them for you. And if you at any time have questions for us, you can always email me, Angie, at thewomanangler.com. I'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, including the conclusion of our Cape Cod adventure, part 3, where half the group went out surfcasting again, but then the other group took a charter fishing for tautog, aka blackfish, and much more. Barb and I have been really busy collecting some amazing stories that we can't wait to share with you people, amazing women all the way down in Florida and on up to Minnesota and all in between. We're also starting something new, which I teased at the beginning of this episode, and we're calling it 5-Minute Fridays. I don't want to give too much away, but we're really excited about this new way to get you fired up for the weekend. If you're subscribed to the podcast, you'll definitely be in the know. Our first episode's coming out on Black Friday, so be sure and check it out. See you then, and we hope you all have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving.